A young woman returns home as she enters with a fruit basket. She says, "I received a scholarship and bonus from work, so I bought a nice fruit basket for you guys." Her mother responds dismissively, "And you thought that was worth showing off? Awards are a dime a dozen these days." The daughter next door already received a monetary reward from her company. Her mother adds, "These don't look like they're from XX department store. You know your brothers won't eat fruit from anywhere else," the young woman whispers. "I'm sorry," feeling the weight of disappointment. Her brothers appear in the hallway and says, "Mom, we're ready to go." The young woman asks, "Are you going somewhere?" noticing their outfits. "We're going to visit Grandma," they reply. "Lehman just got accepted into a prestigious university, and your grandmother insists on giving him a present." Her mother adds coldly, "Not that you need to know." Her mother says, "If you're done, you can leave, and take that fruit with you." The young woman stays silently for a moment before whispering, "Why am I the only one who doesn't belong here?" She picks up the fruit basket and quietly leaves the house, feeling a deep sense of loneliness. She enters her dimly lit room, her tired eyes scanning the familiar surroundings. In the bathroom, water fills the tub as the faucet gushes. She steps out of the warm bath, her wet foot touching the cold floor. After living with her family that treats her like an intruder for so many years, the young woman finally decides to move out. She closes the door of her new place behind her and lies down on the bed, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion. "I'm a 23-year-old college student who works and studies at the same time," she thinks to herself. Her phone buzzes, interrupting her thoughts. She glances at it and says, "Huh?" Turning over, she looks at her phone again. "So I wasn't adopted?" she reads, realizing it is a new chapter in a story she follows. She smiles, knowing that reading a new chapter is her only joy in life. In the novel, the female heroine is loved by her father and everyone around her. It is a healing novel about loving parents that most people take for granted. But on especially bad days like this, the line, "So I wasn't adopted?" provides her with a ray of comfort. "I wish I lived in a world where I was loved by all," she whispers to herself. "I wish. Everyone." The young woman stumbles and everything goes black. When she opens her eyes, she finds herself in a different body. She says, "I have possessed a body in some historical European landscape." She thinks, "I realize something as a fan of fantasy romance novels for over 10 years. On top of that, the young woman, now in a different body, begins to observe her surroundings. She notices the elaborate decor and the numerous portraits of dragons adorning the walls. Realizing something significant, she thinks, "On top of that, there are portraits of dragons everywhere. I know where I am," she exclaims. "This is definitely the Etam estate. House Etam." The realization hits her hard as she connects her current situation to a familiar setting from her beloved fantasy romance novels. She remembers the tale of the Etam family. She thinks, the founding patriarch, Betop Etam, imprinted on a black dragon and drank its blood, making his house mighty and powerful. She recalls further, "Unfortunately, that's not all. The dragon's blood also had a side effect. Whenever the afflicted were surrounded by magic, they succumbed to a chronic illness known as the map disease." She thinks the only person who could relieve the symptoms was the heroine who had the power to purify. With her bright and upright personality, that girl was destined to both save and stir up turmoil for House Etam while continuing to be the perfect female heroine. Since she is an avid reader of this novel who has ended up in this world, she concludes, "There's no doubt about it. I am now part of the story." She thinks she just needs to enjoy her new, rose-colored life. Then she sees her pink hair in the mirror, which surprises her because the heroine in the novel has black hair, completely black. She asks, "Who is this?" Then she remembers, "I am Eileen Etam." She recalls that she is the illegitimate daughter of a distant relative whose foolishness got him disowned by the family. Fortunately for the child, the family regarded children as precious and allowed her to stay. But when Eileen was 5 years old, she had an accident at the family's New Year's gathering that brought doubt upon her family bloodline and resulted in her being kicked out of the family. She's an unfortunate side character. In other words, she realizes she is currently in the body of a mere extra in the novel. She picks up a cup and sips, her mind racing with the absurdity of her situation. Why am I not the main character? She thinks, feeling a pang of frustration. She tries to drink away her worries, but her thoughts are interrupted by a sudden realization. Suddenly, she is approached by Mylar. "Are you all right?" she asks, dashing to her side. She stares back, still processing everything. "I'm sure it's still pretty hot," Mylar says, noticing her discomfort. "You should have waited for the tea to cool down a bit more," she gently admonishes her. She says, "This is delicious," and asks, "How did you make it?" The maid smiles warmly. "Good, isn't it? It's called hot cocoa. The main house needed more house staff, so that's what I have done for so long." She then says that she did her best to make it just the way you like, my lady. Reflecting on the maid's dedication, the young woman thinks, "Mylar, my personal maid. She's been taking care of Eileen long before I took over the girl's body. I'm very grateful to her." Mylar's gentle care and attention remind her of the warmth and kindness she hasn't experienced before, and she thinks that Mylar has taught her many things she didn't know before. "And she has taken care of me like an older sister, so I trust her more than my own family." She asks the lady, "Are they preparing for an event?" To which the lady replies, "My lady, surely you are joking." The girl falls asleep. The lady informs her that tomorrow is the New Year gathering. The girl is shocked, realizing that tomorrow is the day she is going to be kicked out of the house. She then thinks that she has no time to lose. She tells Mylar that she will be in the library and asks her to bring the best cocoa there. She knows she needs to find a new house and decides to look through the records in the library of all the orphanages to pick the best one. She is surprised to see how short the legs of 5-year-olds are. She recalls that there's an orphanage run by a retired war hero, but can't remember the details. As she searches through the records in the library, she notices a man nearby. His hair was resplendent, yet seemed to engulf the moonlit darkness, and his golden eyes shone like honey. He was a man who looked as though the gods had sculpted him themselves. He carefully studied a ledger. His name was Ethan Roval. She was shocked, realizing that this was Erno Etam from the novel. It had been a year since she last saw him, and she couldn't forget someone like him. The boy asked, "Would you happen to know where the books about holy magic are located?" Distracted by his beauty, she quickly shakes off her surprise and remembers that she needs to find the record. She wonders if he doesn't like talking to children and decides it's time to ignore him, but he keeps following her. She starts searching through the library for the records of the orphanages. She continues her search and finally finds the record of the orphanage run by the retired war hero. The man approaches her and says, "I found the book thanks to you. This is a big library, but you seem to know it well." The girl gets nervous, knowing she will be disowned tomorrow and can't afford to be accused of anything now. She makes an excuse that she is just practicing how to read and it's fun. The man walks away from her. The girl starts having a strange feeling. Just then, she disappears, leaving her clothes behind. The girl turns into a lizard. She can't control her powers, and has the misfortune of turning into a lizard at the New Year's celebration. She thinks, "I just barely managed to get away somehow." But she wonders how she can turn back into a human. She starts worrying if she can't turn back. Just then, she saw a ring. She picks up the ring, thinking it looks so expensive. But then she remembers it looks familiar. Just then, he remembers it was the ring of Erno Etam, and just then, he appears again. That's it for part 1 of this series. Part 2 of this series will be uploaded soon. And don't worry, our protagonist will be back into a girl starting next chapter. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe and turn the notification on for more interesting stories.